Welcome, everybody. All right, today we're talking about surfacing the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is a very fascinating thing because it is a operating system, much like a computer, but not a computer, obviously. But that subconscious mind can determine a lot of behavior issues, a lot of things in your life as to how you interact with your spouse, with your kids, with your friends, the people at work. The subconscious mind, there are many things that sink in into our lives, especially resentments, like deep betrayals or people breaking trust. All of those kind of things can really sink into our soul, especially at a young age, and teach us a whole lot of lessons that will dictate our fears for the rest of our lives. So the conscious mind can be described as whatever you're currently aware of, what you're feeling, what you're doing, seeing, touching, experiencing. You're conscious of it. You're aware of it. And the conscious does not involve stored information. It's what's happening now. And it does involve thinking and making decisions. And it's easy to control your conscious mind because you're able to use it to make choices. However, in contrast, your subconscious mind is always working in the background, but you're not necessarily aware of it. And sometimes that if you call on the unconscious mind, your subconscious contains all of the stored information of everything you've experienced in your life that you filter your conscious mind through. And because of this, it influences how you react to things, such as why you're shy, why you're lazy, why you eat too much, why you have an addiction. And on the positive side, your subconscious mind also affects things like why are you motivated? Why are you confident? Why are you successful, cheerful, hopeful, and so on. And so the key is to use your conscious to positively influence your subconscious thoughts. And learning how to use the tool too is a very powerful tool. So, how does this subconscious mind operate? Well, every moment that you're awake, your five senses are taking in the constant stream of information. And that information and these experiences are stored as memories. And that is a very important thing because your memories are going to dictate how you process your life. The big memories, the big hurts, especially the things that have made you suffer in your life, are going to carry fears that are attached to yourself and your soul. And those fears and those hurts are going to carry through decisions and your sensitivities for the rest of your life. And like a computer, your brain stores data, but we do not need to actively recall most of that information. In fact, we probably target 95 to 99% of our daily activities. However, we know these thoughts and images are because we can bring back deep memories. For instance, your limbic system above your brainstem will store all of the data involving times in which you felt attacked, vulnerable, or your life was in danger. It will store all that, and then anything that rubs against those kind of memories, you instantly will go into fight or flight. So, what that means is your brain doesn't have to think about anything. It just bypasses your whole thinking process, your prefrontal cortex. It goes directly into the brainstem. That means those memories that will save your life are attached to your brainstem. So you go to fight or flight. So let's say you came back from war and all of a sudden you're walking through Walmart and somebody in some kind of green outfit walks by, or somebody that looks dangerous walks by, and then suddenly your brain is going to go to fight or flight. And so this is what we have to think about. What we have to think about is what are our automatic thoughts? What are our sensitivities the lens in which we see our life through? Studies in psychology on how the brain works indicate that experiences, shape what we think and how we act. And your subconscious mind can be compared to flying a plane on autopilot. It's constantly running programs to control how we walk, how we sit, how we breathe, what we make important, what we don't make important, what is meaningful, what is not. So, for instance, if you fell off a swing when you were a child, there's a really good chance that when your child is playing on a swing in a park, you're going to freak out and overcompensate because that stored memory has told you, hey, bad things can happen on a swing. You better be careful. You better be hyper alert. And so we have to think about, if your sibling did something dangerous to you, playing a sport, and anytime you're playing that sport, you as a parent, of your child, you may be hypersensitive to how other kids are playing with your child because you got injured doing a sport with your sibling or with a friend. Your subconscious mind is constantly operating. And sometimes we don't really realize what it's tapping into. And what happens is what is called a homeostatic impulse. It keeps your body temperature at 98.6 Fahrenheit, just as it keeps you breathing regular and keeps your heart beating at a certain rate. And through your autonomic nervous system, it maintains balance among hundreds of chemicals and billions of cells so that your entire physical machine functions in complete harmony most of the time. However, your subconscious mind practices homeostasis in your mental realm, and that is the balance, balancing your mental realm, keeping you thinking and acting in a manner consistent with what you've done and said in the past. So, really, what the subconscious mind pauses you to feel emotionally and physically uncomfortable whenever you attempt to do anything new or different or change one of your established patterns of behavior. Because now you're having to learn something fresh, and your subconscious mind wants you to continue to do things that it remembers. It wants you to do things safely. Your subconscious mind operates off of fear. And what we have to understand is those fears are plugged into the traumas in our life and how we filter our life through our traumas. So when we change, when we go into a new environment where we're doing something different, there's a good chance that our brain is on hyper alert because it's taking in new information and storing that information in the subconscious if it's important so that we will be able to always protect ourselves. Your subconscious is part of the system that keeps us safe. And so fear is the biggest component of what the subconscious grabs onto, anything relating to fear. However, life is faith-based. That means that we're not fully alive unless we're doing something new and different. We have to plug ourselves in and actually get out in the world and do things based on leaps of faith rather than do what our subconscious mind wants us to do, which is what feels safe. If you live a life where all you do is feel safe, there's a good chance you're not going to live your life at all. And what you really have to ask yourself, am I managing my life or am I living my life? And many of us spend most of our lives managing our life. You can actually feel your subconscious pulling you back toward your comfort zone each time you try something new. Even thinking about doing something different from what you've accustomed to do will make you feel tense and uneasy. So, for instance, if you plan on going to some kind of sports activity and it's going to be on television, there's a good chance your subconscious mind is going to convince you to stay in your jammies, stay on the couch, and sit there and watch it on television rather than go to the ballpark. Because what's going to happen if you go to the park, go, it's to watch the sport, you're going to have to interact with people. There's going to be change. There's going to be new things. There's going to be different things. And your brain is going to create all kinds of reasons not to go. But you still need to go because that's living. Forming new habits will help you reach your goals. The more you do leaps of faith, the less your subconscious mind will operate. That's very, very important to understand. However, the more you take leaps of faith, the more probability there is going to be some hurt, some suffering involved in that decision. And that's going to teach you something too. So what's more important is how you are on the other side of the suffering, the testimony. That's the most important part. Using your conscious mind to properly program your subconscious mind means that your conscious mind has to keep you moving forward. That means you have to continue to experientially experience your life. Your conscious mind comes in by understanding, hey, I can deal with change. I can do change. I can adapt. This is kind of cool. Now we do that on vacations. Many people do because they set themselves up to go on the vacation, and many people hyper plan their vacations because their subconscious mind wants to plan every minute and keep every minute busy. However, what we really want is we want to experientially go into a vacation where you set a framework, but then you have to fill it between the point A to point B with new things and new experiences. New things, new experiences, new learning is all very, very important for our conscious mind to continue to push us into so that it programs the fear out of the unconscious mind. People that procrastinate have enormous depression and anxiety because they sit in limbo. They find thousands of excuses not to do things until they feel like it. And that creates depression. We are not meant to be like that. We are meant to live in the jungle. We are meant to live out in the open and figure out how to survive. And the more you push against that and try to be safe, the more your subconscious is going to run your life. And that means it's going to do everything based on fear. You want to recognize how you get in your own way. You want to identify what is holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve. And the first thing you need to examine is, what are my motivators? If your motivator is doing something for other people, use it. If your motivator is being angry, use it. Your motivator is to prove something to yourself, use it. To prove something to another person, use it. All of these things are very important. Many people don't understand that motivators are very critical as far as us moving forward in our lives. And if you want to unprogram your subconscious mind, that means you have to have a motivation to do that, to overcome fear and to believe in yourself. Let's say you want to do something hard, like write a book, but you can't seem to get started or finished. What's keeping you from doing that? Well, you just need to throw yourself in and experientially find yourself writing, and you may find that you're writing about nothing. But the bottom line is you're starting to create some inertia. So sometimes if you're going to write a book, writing is just practice. And then the framework of what you want to write will start coming forward once your brain starts taking seriously that you are writing a book. Roadblocks can also be physical barriers. Perhaps you want to lose weight, but you allow your habit of scrolling through social media for 30 minutes a day to fill the time that you could spend exercising. So what people do is they realize that, hey, I've got to create a habit. Habits are what make us healthy. If you're going to wait until you feel like it, you are not going to get anything done. So if you're going to sign up for a gym, you better make it a habit. If you're going to try to make it I'll do it when I feel like it, you're never going to feel like it, and you're just wasting money and wasting time. You want to think about your goals and dreams and find out what thoughts, habits, ideas, barriers are keeping you from achieving them. How are you getting in your own way? Once you know what your limiting thoughts are, accepting them, embracing them, and then let them go. Sometimes this requires you to bring pain to the surface, into your conscious mind, because anything hard makes your life easier. If you're going to study hard to become a plumber, you've got a skill that other people need. Now, if you don't do hard, if you do mediocre and you call yourself a plumber, you're probably going to destroy a lot of people's homes. Not good. It's going to put you into some bad places. So when you do hard, you have to dedicate yourself to what you're doing. Otherwise, don't do it at all. Perhaps you struggle with the ability to develop a trusting relationship, but you realize you didn't have the model from your childhood. Trusting relationships are huge because you can, when you trust someone, you love them. The love grows through the amount of trust you have in an individual. People that don't value trust or don't even trust themselves don't have a very good relationships in their life. They have an emptiness inside of them. So what gets us to trust? What gets us there is the willingness to have faith in another person or a thing or ourself to do something. I'm going to have faith in myself to get this done. I'm going to have faith in my spouse to get this thing done. I'm going to have faith in my kids. I'm going to have faith in my friend. Having faith is the bridge to trust. And you can talk about faith all day long without the expectation of trust because people get to trust when they get to trust. And so what we have to understand is if you're going to develop a relationship that is intended to go to trust, you have to operate off of faith. I need you to have faith in me. I am having faith in myself. I'm going to get this done. And you communicate it and communicate it and communicate it until it finally gets there. You also have to set the intention with your conscious mind. Now it's time to unleash the power of positive thinking and reprogram your subconscious. So that starts with looking for the things you're grateful for and talking about the things you would prefer to have but don't have, or you would prefer to have more of and only have a little. You've got to look at what you are grateful for if you want to be a creative person, because creative people use what they have and then they build on it to get more. That is a very important component to our life is you take a leap of faith and you be grateful to the people who follow you and you be grateful to yourself for what you're creating and then you continue to be grateful and you will build and build and build and build. Gratefulness is the exact opposite of worry. Your conscious thoughts and actions can reprogram your subconscious mind in a heartbeat. A positive message can reprogram how you feel, how you heal trauma, changes habits and make our lives stagnant, blossom to unfulfilling lives that focus on things that matter the most. So, for instance, if you lost your job, so let's say you got fired, and all of a sudden you're out there in the world and you don't know and then you start a business or you start an idea or you go down a brand new path that you're more passionate about, and that blossoms into something even greater. Now you're going to be grateful for being fired. You know, Sometimes bad things happen that lead to great things in your life. You also let your subconscious mind take over. Sometimes allowing your conscious to relax and let your subconscious to take over, your subconscious will do things a whole lot better than your conscious mind. There's many people that have talked about how their subconscious basically drove them to whatever place because they're not conscious or remember much of that trip. But what they can remember is that they still kept driving, and that oftentimes is your subconscious can do a better job than your conscious. The searching for the right word, the right action, the right idea can also go against your subconscious already having the answers. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about surfacing the subconscious truths about ourselves and our mind. The subconscious can be programmed. One of the things it can be programmed by is creating healthy routines. Healthy routines and affirmations about, reinforcing those routines and getting positive results from those routines is a huge way to program your subconscious mind to get things done. Your subconscious mind will redefine you if you hang on to a routine and keep that routine going. There's also things about inspiration, positive thinking, focusing your thoughts on uplifting words and uplifting ideas. This means that anything is possible. And in this life, we have to sometimes operate that way because not all the bets go in our favor. And so, what we have to understand is we've got to be resilient, and resiliency is a part of what we need to program in our subconscious mind that even if things don't work out, I'm still going to find a way to survive. In life, 80% of the outcome in anything you do is usually a result of 20% of your effort. And this is commonly called the Pareto principle. And it's a very powerful once you understand it. By that principle, making sure things you do each day are those that will have the greatest impact on achieving your life goals. And when you make these actions a priority, they no longer fall through the cracks and fail to prey to procrastination, which is depression, or overtake other activities. All your habits of thinking and acting are stored in your subconscious mind. It has memorized all your comfort zones and it works to keep you in them. And this is why it's so important to make, writing SMART goals a regular habit. Over time, staying productive and focusing on your goals will become part of your comfort zone because your subconscious wants to be safe and comfortable. That's what it migrates to. When you let your subconscious take over your conscious mind by doing what is safe and what is comfortable, you're going to become depressed, anxious, and vulnerable. You are going to be more about managing your life and less about living your life. Your subconscious mind is very subjective. It does not think or reason independently. It obeys the commands it receives from your conscious mind. And just as your conscious mind can be thought of as a gardener planting seeds, your subconscious mind can be thought of as a garden, fertile soil in which the seeds germinate and grow. This is why harnessing the power of positive thinking is important foundation for your entire thought process because your conscious mind needs to understand that it is resilient so that it programs your subconscious mind to be resilient. For those looking to expand your comfort zones, think of successful people. Their patterns commonly are adapted by the minds of great leaders and thinkers. And what you want to look at is people that focus on goals, focus on dreams, and then take action towards those things. Those habits include planning your day the night before, numbering your priorities you do on your to-do list, completing your most important task first. These are huge ingredients towards getting towards your goals. It's very important that you as a person become somebody who can depend on yourself to be resilient. Learning techniques to reprogram your subconscious mind helps you believe in yourself because your confidence will no longer be challenged by the fear of the unknown. But more importantly, doing so will train your brain to be in line with your true desires, your dreams, and your life goals. And the more in tune you are with your subconscious, you become, the closer you will to be breaking through to success. Taking immediate action on your ideas is a powerful key to success. Freeing yourself from limiting beliefs or doubts is the first step for action. That means, what do I have to get out of my way, including myself, to get things done? Why is awareness and unconscious emotions important? Well, emotions are the root cause of behaviors. There are motivators. They're important health influencers. People that are conscious of their emotions, but very often they're not, the result of unconscious depression, unconscious repressed frustration, anger can be devastating for a person's health and cause numerous difficult to treat symptoms like intense fatigue, chronic pain, insomnia, trauma. Trauma means that our subconscious runs the show. Excuse me. What that means is, as your subconscious runs the show, fear is going to operate your life. Well, what fear does is it predicts a negative outcome. And what fear does is prepare for a negative outcome, which is basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the people that live in their subconscious mind by doing the same thing every day, all the time, following the same routines, never getting out of the box, eating the same things on the same days, going to the same places, all the same, everything the same. What happens is you don't allow yourself to get out of the subconscious, which will make you depressed. Because once again, your subconscious needs to control everything by making things safe and easy. Once we become aware of our feelings, we can work to find out way to search out ways in which we can be creative and where we can take initiative in our lives. But it all starts with awareness. The next time you go for a walk, ask yourself, what is my attention drawn to today? By focusing on the one thing your attention is drawn to the most and talking as if you were that thing, you will explore a fascinating new world, the world of your unconscious emotions and related health. Doing this with a friend or a partner, you will dive deeply into surprising territories. Oftentimes it's really fascinating to figure out what would it be like to be a person of a different culture and going down that avenue and thinking through the process of how those people must think and the challenges those people must have, especially if they move to the United States and try to make a life here and try to filter what that brain would do in the life in the United States compared to what it would do at its home. You know, what we have to understand is when we permit ourselves the many liberties, what happens is we start feeling guilty. And we also, if we have a very low self-esteem and don't trust ourselves, we may not succeed. What we have to do is, if you're going to accomplish anything in this life, you have to throw out fear. You have to throw forward faith. Having faith that whatever you're creating is going to be worth its while. Having faith that you will find the resources to make things better and better. But what's also very, very important to program your subconscious mind in a proper way is to understand that you have to be resilient. You have to be able to overcome negative thinking. You have to be able to believe in yourself and to accomplish things based on that. Over the years, many people fall into maxims and proverbs and idioms and memorable things that people have passed down over time. And that's great. But what we have to understand is if you look at the deeper truths and the people that have really lived meaningful lives, those people took chances. Those people stepped out on a limb. Those people stepped out and tried to lead your thoughts to new thoughts. These are important people in our lives, and you could be one. But that means you've got to put yourself forward. That means you've got to grab on to universal truths that your mind resonates with and promote those truths to the rest of the world so that your life will stick out and have meaning to others. But your subconscious mind, it needs to be repressed. That means it needs to be pushed down. It also needs to process. Your subconscious mind has lots of fears. That's why we dream. During the dream state, what happens is there's the REM stage of sleep. Your mind is processing all kinds of things that is pulling together concocted stories to elicit repressed emotions. That's why it's so important to get sleep, because if you don't express those repressed emotions, what's going to happen is your brain is not going to be refreshed the next morning. So it's very critical for you to process dreams and to allow your brain to let out the steam through your dreams. Many people even try to control their sleep by laying there and thinking about what they're worried about. Well, that's just letting your subconscious run its tape. Your subconscious is not going to solve anything, but your subconscious, if you let it go free, is going to have learning that you've stored away a long time ago that may teach you how to do something you've never done before. It's amazing what your subconscious can do because it can teach you how to ride a bike. Once your brain consciously learns how to ride a bike, your subconscious is going to learn how to ride a bike. Once you've taught yourself how to drive, your subconscious is going to teach you how to drive. Once you've learned how to walk, your subconscious does that. How to sing, your subconscious will help you do that. Your subconscious stores away the things that make you successful and not so successful. You know, there's all kinds of things to think about to spin truths. And that's what people do because our truths are perceived truths. And so what we have to understand is that we each see the world differently. And what's very, very important in this world is to have a subconscious that is not willing to judge, but willing to understand other people's points of view, other people's positions, and where other people may be coming from. Because what happens is we automatically, because we're lazy, subconsciously will shut people down that are in disagreement with us. It takes a lot. It takes our conscious mind to overcome that and to decide to understand where other people are coming from without taking great offense. And so, what we have to understand is all relationships bypass our subconscious by allowing us to forget fear and actually engage and be present to take in information from others. What's really important is understanding that even emojis and emoticons are one way of highlighting emotions stated to imply, let's say, a text that they accompany. But our subconscious mind attaches to these emojis and emoticons that are put forward. So we can actually summarize visually what is happening in an email based on what the emoticon or the emoji is. And that's great. That's using our subconscious, but our subconscious also judges those things, which may filter how we read the words that are attached to the emojis. It's really important to understand that your subconscious mind also can attract itself to exaggeration. Your subconscious mind actually, since it's fear-based, will listen to things like conspiracy theories and integrate those theories into your thinking because since it's fear-based, it's looking for evidence to reinforce fear. We have to understand that there's a paradox. What we have to do when we have fear or exaggeration, especially exaggeration, we want to walk through the storm. When somebody's exaggerating, we want to we want to challenge the exaggeration and go into the storm rather than go away from it. That's a very important thing to deprogram your subconscious mind. Because let's say you're going into an environment where there's a bunch of protesters. Well, maybe you need to walk through the protesters and go where you need to go. Your subconscious mind says fear, fear, fear. Be careful, be hyper alert, blah, blah, blah. Your conscious mind says, I can get through this. Hopefully, these people are here. They're not psychotic Democrats like they are today, and I will be able to get to where we're going. That means that I can handle it. And that means you're programming from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind to follow orders. You know, what's really important is truth is it's actually very sweet and it's actually very bitter. You know, it's a necessity, but it's also a very important ingredient to our subconscious mind because truth is what our perceptions work from. And that means that we have frameworks in which we see things. So half of our country sees Trump and they go psychotic. The other half sees Trump and they go, hallelujah, we finally have somebody that's sane. Now, the people that are delusioned with the, oh my God, he's a king, he's going to rule the world, destroy our country, they are psychotic, but they believe it. They believe it wholly. It's a derangement. It's a delusion that they have bought hook, line, and sinker and reinforce each other to constantly think that we're in danger because of this. It's crazy, but people live that way and they reinforce their subconscious. They don't even think about it. You bring up the word Trump and they have an automatic response. It's sad, but it's the way it goes because the subconscious mind can operate human lives. And the sad part is that people that are susceptible to conspiracy theories are people that let their subconscious run their life. They have their safe little routines, their safe little things that they do, and they do those quirky little things, and that's what makes them who they are. And they stay in that place, but that means that you're not challenging your brain to get out of the box. We have to understand that people will being lazy. Lazy actually means I'm reinforcing my subconscious to live in fear. I'm going to always live in fear. Once again, if you're going to get married, if you're going to have kids, if you're going to have a job, if you're going to travel, if you're going to go anywhere, you're going to buy a car, buy a house, do anything, go to the grocery store, whatever. It's all a leap of faith. No fear. So once again, your conscious mind is not fear based. Your subconscious mind is fear based. That's why your conscious mind has to be in charge at all times. That's called your will. You've got to push yourself to go beyond the comfort zones in our lives. You've got to push yourself to have conversations that you don't want to have. You've got to push yourself to do things differently. That is what your conscious does to train your subconscious to go along with it and to help you because your subconscious has wisdom. And that wisdom can help you when you're doing faith-based thinking and you're operating in the world without all the solutions. You need the subconscious wisdom, but you don't need the subconscious's fear. And that's a very important thing as far as how to train your brain. Your subconscious mind has something called a homeostatic impulse, and we talked about this earlier. It regulates your body temperature, your heartbeat, your breathing. And through your autonomic nervous system, your homeostatic impulse maintains a balance among hundreds of chemicals in your billions of cells so that your entire physical machine functions in complete harmony. But what people don't realize is just as your brain is built to regulate your physical self, it also tries to regulate your mental self. So your mind is constantly flittering about, bringing your attention and information to stimuli that affirms your pre-existing beliefs. That's what we do. We live in our pre-existing beliefs. That's your subconscious. If you want to have new beliefs, you have to let your conscious be more aware and functional. All right, we're going to take another break. We're going to come right back. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about programming your subconscious mind and accessing it. Your subconscious mind is your experiential wisdom. Your subconscious mind has a lot of very good roadmaps. However, your subconscious mind can also destroy your life because it creates a very narrow funnel based on fear. So, what we're talking about is ways to restrain both your subconscious and your conscious mind to get them to work together. Then the first step in creating a massive change in your life is not actually believing that it's possible, it's being willing to see if it's possible. You're not going to be able to jump from being a complete skeptic to a wholehearted believer. That's a battle between your conscious and your subconscious. However, what you want to do is that you want to learn how to respond, that you're willing to see if things are possible. And that's what will change your life. Learning about possibilities. Give yourself permission to experientially learn and fail and learn from it. What we have to understand is many people see failure with a fear lens that failure means abject failure. No, failure is a lesson. It teaches. Failure is a necessary ingredient. It is the scientific process of how we evolve. So instead of regurgitating the same old narrative, believing you'll be happy once you're 10 pounds lighter, or once you're promoted, or once you buy this new house, or once you have 4 kids, or once you get married, that's setting the stage to be miserable because that means you're already miserable going in. You have to give yourself permission to be happy and successful. Now, happy is a strange word because it's just one emotion. Joy is a choice. And that's really much more of what we want to think about. Having a life filled with joy, looking for the good, being grateful, thanking people, having good manners, putting other people first. These are things that make you a better person. Treating someone as if of how you would want to be treated, especially if you're married. Do you treat your spouse the way you want to be treated? If you don't, shut the hell up. You have no business bitching about how they treat you. If you don't treat them well, you need to do what you expect yourself to receive. The thing about the subconscious is success amongst amoral, corrupt, or not getting what you want. The subconscious, when it does not get what it wants, because it wants safety, it wants control, it wants things to go its way. Once it doesn't do that, it hates on your conscious mind. Oh, you're a failure. I don't trust you. You don't make good decisions. Well, no, the conscious mind doesn't worry about failure. The conscious mind goes for an outcome, and it works very hard to get there. However, the problem is that the subconscious mind wants you to do it safely. Nothing great is ever going to be achieved safely. You have to take chances. You have to bet sometimes more than you want to bet and go into life and believe in yourself. And even if you lose, you still find a way to win. And that doesn't mean you're going to ultimately win, but what it means is you're going to find ways to survive and then eventually come out on top. You know, the point is that other people's fears are projections of their own situations. They have nothing to do what you are and are not capable of. You don't need to borrow other people's philosophies, especially if they're toxic or negative. Surround yourself with positive people. If you've got toxic, negative people, including your parents, including your siblings, including your friends, including your boss, start to diminish their power upon your brain. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you have to think that way. It's sad that you see me like that. It's sad you see things like that. You don't have to agree with them. You just acknowledge that they see things the way they see them and you see things the way you see them, and it's okay. Accept people's negativity, but don't integrate it into your own thinking. This is a very important part because people that operate with their subconscious mind have taken on too many toxic people's negativity into their brain and allowed those things to catch on like a virus and disease the brain into having fear-based thoughts. If you're dropped in the middle of a jungle, you will not survive with purely fear-based thoughts. You will only survive based on leaps of faith. Yes, fear will help you. Fear will give you what's comfortable. Fear will give you the wisdom. That's your subconscious mind, but it won't give you the innovation. That's your conscious mind. Being able to imagine what you want out of your life is absolutely essential to creating it. Because if you don't know where you're going, you will not go anywhere. You are in limbo. It is amazing to me that I see so many people, especially between 20 and 50 years old, completely indecisive, can't even figure out what to eat for dinner. And it's sad because these people sit around doing things like bad habits like drinking and alcohol and drugs, pornography. They do whatever to fill their time because they make no choices. If you make no choices, you are not a human. You're not a person. You're not alive. You're dead. You know, people live suicidal lives, throwing themselves into pornography, into drugs, into alcohol. That's an unconscious mind because I'm avoiding fears. I have to have something to avoid all my fears. And that's the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind likes habits. So if you want to program your subconscious mind, that means you have to develop good habits that are good for you rather than migrate to the bad habits because the good habits will reinforce a good life and will reinforce you taking better care of yourself. Being able to imagine what you want out of your life is essential. Once you have a crystal clear image in your mind of what you want and how you want to live, you are then capable of beginning to enact and create it. And if you're still hazy or torn between what you want, you will be rendered incapable of taking real, meaningful action towards anything. So let's say you want to move to, I don't know, some exotic beach resort like Newport Beach or something like that in California. So you want to move to Newport Beach and have a view of the ocean. Well, if you actually envision that and decide that you will sacrifice and create a life that will get you there, that will get you to be able to pay rent for an apartment or whatever, and live there and make a life and get a job and do things, you will probably do it if you decide it. If you don't decide it, you're just going to resent the fact that it's in your head and you never did anything about it, and you will tear your self-esteem down. That tells your subconscious mind that you are too fearful, you are too weak, you're too stupid. Whatever the dialogue is that your subconscious mind will do, it will continue to tell you not to do those things. If you get a goal and you set the goal in front of you and say, I'm going to go towards that goal and I'm going to make that goal as best I possibly can. And in the end, it may not look what I'm dreaming of it to look like, but it's going to look. And you go, 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 go. Drag your family with you, drag your spouse. You need to go. You need to make choices. This is how life is lived. People that sit in their safe little houses and their safe little jobs are miserable. If you want to live your life, you've got to take chances. You know, you also have to identify your resistance. Your subconscious holds you back from pursuing something that we love. It's because we're holding on to a conflicting belief about it. So for instance, if you had an experience where you lost something and then you have that experience again, there's a good chance you're going to come into this experience a second time with the, oh, I better plan on losing something. Not a good idea. Not a good way to live your life. You also want to have a master plan for your life. You know, forget 5 or even 10 year plans. So much changes over time, especially with technologies. It's really hard to have a 5 or 10 year plan. But a new, even better opportunities will come about. But what we want to think about is making that first choice. It's kind of like going to college. You go to college, let's say you're going to study business. Well, you end up doing your general education stuff for the first 2 years. And then after that, you decide, okay, I want to do marketing or I want to do something else. Or I want to refine my business degree. Now you go down the path. So what's important is you take the step. That's what's important. You may not be at the end result, but if you have to be at the end result when you first make the step, okay, I'm going to graduate with a business degree. If I like it or not, I'm still going to go, I'm going to get a business degree, and that's all there is to it. Well, that means your subconscious mind wants to do what's comfortable. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. It's good to listen to it, but it's not good to follow it because it won't take you to self-actualization. Self-actualization comes through us making unique choices and experiencing new things until we're able to refine our choices down and integrate them into our personalities. You want to start asking what you want. If someone asks you to do a consulting project, ask for the amount of money you want to earn from it. If your goal is to get a promotion, sit down with your boss and make your intentions known. Reach out to brands you want to work with. Start asking for what you want, even if you have no reason to believe anyone will actually give you any of the things. Eventually, they will if you keep asking. You want to also release your attachment to the how. Your job is to define what and then work in tandem with other people for the how. If your goal is to work remotely and run your own business instead of giving up your first attempt fails, try reimagining how else you would achieve your ultimate vision in a new way by actually being consultative, learning from others. Because other people done it, you can do it too. You just have to learn how. Many people can teach you how to cut those corners to get things done, but if you want to do it all in your head and in a vacuum, there's a good chance that nothing will ever get done. You also have to understand, when am I squandering my time? Am I squandering my time on wasteful things? If you're squandering a lot of your time, there's a good chance you're sitting in your subconscious mind doing what is safe and comfortable. Well, you're already dead. If you're going to live that way, you're already dead. If you're going to sit down and watch television, there's a good chance that you could learn something. So maybe you should turn to a channel where you learn something that will take your life forward. That's an important thing. Doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. Yes, your brain needs a break. But the bottom line is you've really got to get your brain trained to get out of fear. You've got to build skills and you got to believe in yourself that you can deliver. You may not be the best at what you do, but you're probably better than most, so give it that. It's really important to visualize a positive outcome. It's really important to understand of seeing where you want things to go and planting that firmly in your subconscious mind. Goals, decisions, aspirations, things that you want to achieve is very, very important to drop into your subconscious mind. It will find a way. It will heighten your ways of looking for opportunities if you use it, but you have to be positive. There's also using subliminal things and it's kind of hypnotic, like audio and video to tap into your subconscious mind with less work on your part. Subliminal messages produce a variety of desired effects. Some people claim that listening to foreign language audio during sleep helps them implant foreign language in their subconscious. It's amazing. We actually pick up on each other all the time. I'll notice sometimes if I scratch my hair, somebody scratches their head. I know that movies used to program, they probably still do, where popcorn and soda would pop up. You didn't see it, but it would be in like one frame of the film, and that would program you to, oh, I need popcorn. Oh, I need drinks, or whatever. We're so influential and easily influenced. Our subconscious is very easily influenced. And so what we have to understand is the more people are depressed and anxious and live in fear, the easier they are to be hypnotized simply because they're operating off of the fear part of their mind. All right, that's our show. I want to thank everybody for listening. I love hearing from you. You could do that at voiceamericamedia.com or any of the podcast channels. or outlets. Dr. Gary Bell's Absurd Psychology. Now, remember, the subconscious mind has no sense of humor. Some people seek humor to mask their unhappiness. Also, your subconscious mind runs your life based on the amount of suffering you carry. Also, sometimes your middle finger